When do you restart a board game? When do you allow yourself kind of a second play or a do-over? That's what I want to explore in this board gaming hobby vlog. And of course, naturally, there are rules as written and there's various house rules. There's nothing wrong with adjusting a game to your preferences or your gaming group, but at the same time, playing the game as intended, because there's this idea, whatever type of game that we're playing, risk versus reward, but also the thrill of the victory, the thrill of the win, being able to pull off that tactica with a little bit of luck mixed in. And at the end of that gaming session, whether it's 3 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, you've accomplished something, even if it's kind of co-op or playing with a group. So within that framework, one of the games that I really enjoy playing, Dark Souls, the board game. And essentially with Dark Souls, the board game, you clear these various areas. Naturally, I'm condensing it. Battle monsters, battle minions, get some souls, spend those souls on some gear and to power up your character. And then you go through the fog gate and you have a mini boss encounter. The mini boss encounter, the AI for the game is pretty fantastic. It's driven by a set of cards that you randomly shuffle. You don't use all the cards for each mini boss. So this way it's a little bit different every time. And the cards randomly dictate the actions that the monster takes. So you battle out that mini boss, you battle out that monster, you get a little bit of gear specific from the monster that you fought, and you level up. That's part one of the game. Then you go through upgraded monsters, a new layout for the dungeon, for the area, and you fight a main boss. And the main bosses are pretty powerful. If you played Dark Souls at all, this game matches that excellent. You got to get good fast, and the main boss is very, very powerful and iconic. Now, when you win the main boss, at that point, now we enter the expansions. And the expansions are interesting because now there's a mega boss where you're fighting, in my opinion, the various board games in my collection, the various board games that I've played. Dark Souls has some of the hardest mega bosses to beat, some of the hardest things to beat in a board game. And of course, they have their own AI. They move. You've got gear. You've got tactics. I have to say, out of all the kind of main big bosses that I've fought across all different board games, Horizon Zero Dawn has some really amazing ones. They're powerful, but they're fun. The only one that has been extremely, extremely powerful, no spoilers here, Kingdom Death Monster, the dragon from KDM, is absolutely just insane. And I really can't see, I've always played rules as written, meaning we've got to get to that endpoint. I can't see someone beating this type of dragon. But jumping back to Dark Souls, they're very potent too. Now, we've got that framework. What we're looking at here is maybe about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to get to a mini boss. And you're allowed a couple of deaths. If a character dies, things get reset, you go back to the bonfire, and you lose a spark. Depending on the number of players, if you have 4, 3, 2 players, the sparks adjust. Essentially, when you're out of sparks, the game ends. So it accounts for a character death, but you can only die so many times. After the mini-boss, the main boss, the mega-boss, moving from there. Once you defeat that mini-boss, now once you jump to the main boss, that's about an hour and 45 minutes or so of leveling up, of grinding, of tactics. If you die at that point, the game gets completely reset. Yes, you could pick different bosses, but if you want to go for the same boss, it's reset. If you get to the mega boss, and the mega boss isn't just kind of a fight, there's a little bit to navigate and explore, and then you jump into the fight. That's shorter. That's maybe about 50 minutes to an hour of play. So think about this. If you've invested 3 or 4 or 5 hours real time into play, and we're having fun, right? We're gearing up. We're looking at some different tactica. We're exploring the area, encounters. We're getting loot. We're upgrading our items because things are socketed with gems and enhancements. You're getting spells. It's a lot of fun. But if you die and you lose those sparks, you get reset. You go back to the beginning. How do we approach that? Now, I always play, yes, to the end. But I can see if someone wanted to adjust it to say, look, we died at this kind of mega boss, let's not go back all the way to the beginning for the mini boss. Let's try and run for the mega boss again. Let's try and fight that again. I don't see anything wrong with that. That's not necessarily how I play. But within that framework, as a board gaming enthusiast, how do you interpret something like that? A game where there's set goals and you have to graduate one goal to get to the next. If you die at that third goal, do you reset back to the first, or do you give it a try for another go?